Streaming music has its advantages. You don't have to buy the music, there's a massive library of songs, and most services stream at a relatively high quality. There are a few downsides though. The reasons to own physical music outweigh only relying on streaming and downloading, so here are a few reasons why you should own a physical music collection. Unavailability of some music on the internet. Sometimes copyright issues could be at play, so a song or an album won't be available on streaming services for those reasons. Maybe the license for the music needs to be acquired, or maybe the label just doesn't want to pay the fees to make it happen. In the case of underground music and lesser known music, some bands and albums are just never going to be available on streaming services. There are bands that have been broken up for years, sometimes decades, that just won't take the time to make their catalog available in any form. Pressing CDs and records is pretty expensive, so it's an especially big investment if they know that only a small number of people are going to buy them. Other musicians can be so controlling of their copyrighted work that they won't allow their music on any website. Buy the album, and you can play it anytime you want, fortunately. Revisionism. Don't you hate when the stuff you like is changed to an inferior product? Green tints added to the Matrix. Dance sequences crowbarred into Star Wars. Well, now you can have re-recorded drums and bass on an Ozzy album. You don't even have to have golden ears to spot it. Fortunately, the original mixes got re-released later. Not all albums get that courtesy though. Master tapes can get lost and destroyed, royalties and lawsuits become tricky business, and sometimes it just comes down to what the band wants. David Bowie's Never Let Me Down originally had the song Too Dizzy, but he apparently hated the song so much that he wanted it off the album after just a couple of years. What about different artworks? Bolt Thrower's Realm of Chaos had to have a new cover made because Games Workshop didn't want to renew the license for the original artwork. Then you have bands that use samples in their music. The samples may be removed because of copyright issues later on. It takes a little bit of research, but if you own copies of these albums in their original state, you're all set. Difficulty finding high quality or specific versions of songs. You can find almost anything on the internet. Occasionally a song you're looking for might only be available in low quality. A streaming service might only have a bad remastered version. Then there are songs that have a million different versions. Let's see, do I want the single version? Do I want the album version? Do I want the remix? The Doors, let's see, is the end censored or uncensored? Uh-oh, the one that I want isn't available. The easy fix is to have the CD and put the files on your phone so that way you don't have to go scrolling for a few minutes and deal with the ads each time. And that's another thing, no commercials. Sure, you could pay $10 a month to stream without commercials, but why not spread that money out to albums over time? Besides, we've already covered that a streaming service might not have everything you're looking for. If you have to, you could collect albums while streaming, a combo of convenience and having what you want at the same time. Retroactive censorship. When sensitive people have a problem with something you say, rash and overzealous reactions are bound to happen. Take Gwar, a band that's known to be over the top and has no problem pissing a lot of people off. Their album This Toilet Earth had a song, BDF, that the label and retail stores had a big problem with. What's it about? Raping babies, of course! Given their songs about raping dogs with plows, 9-ton crack rocks, kidnapping children, and intergalactic space wars, Gwar fans know not to take things too seriously. Anyway, BDF was removed after the first pressing, so if you want the song, you're gonna have to be sure to buy a copy that has it on there. What about Megadeth? They did a cover of These Boots Are Made for Walking. They changed the lyrics and made the song pretty sexual. Only years later did the original songwriter take issue with it and ordered the cover off of the album. Later versions of Killing Is My Business either had the song with the lyrics bleeped, or they had a brand new recording with the original lyrics, or it was missing from the album entirely. They may not be allowed to sell you the song, but if you find an original copy with the song on it, they can't take it away from you. Censorship is bullshit. Have a sense of humor. Horrible mastering jobs. Too many albums have garbage remastering jobs. The more into the music you are, the more the sound quality can ruin it for you. Judas Priest's Painkiller remaster was compressed, it had a boosted EQ, and generally sounded unnatural. Sometimes you get albums that are made so loud that they lose their impact. Louder does not mean better. Chances are that your preferred streaming service may have a terrible sounding version of the album you want to hear. There are good remasters out there, but you have to do some research to find them. If you could buy what's commonly known to be a great sounding version of an album, you would appreciate it more. Would you rather have a crappy, bare-bones David Bowie remaster, or a 2-disc set that includes a 5.1 mix and the original versions of the songs? I'm gonna guess the latter. LP mix all the way. Buying and selling can be fun. People collect coins, lighters, t-shirts, sports cards, and the same goes for music. Market value is unpredictable. The harder an album is to find, or if there's a special version of an album, it could sell for high prices. People will pay for whatever they think it's worth. It doesn't matter how good a reissue of an album is, there's always a market for people who want original pressings or autographed copies. On the other side of this, it can also be fun to buy stuff that's hard to find. Looking for stuff at the right price, trading albums, things popping up that sometimes won't be available again for a while, there's a rush with it all. Not all hard to find albums stay that way. They could get reissued, so sometimes it's better to wait until they're available and affordable again. Other times you might get demos, EPs, and unaltered releases that may never become available again for different reasons. It's satisfying when you eventually find these elusive albums. No DRM. The thing about streaming is that you don't really own the music. Even if you buy a digital download, some websites use DRM protection. iTunes used to limit the number of computers you could play your music on. A record can be played on any record player though, so DRM is not as big of an issue as it used to be. The most these websites will do now is they'll put an order ID in the file's data, and they may even put your email address in there. But these are more of the past issues, and even if they do spring up from time to time, they can be solved with a little tinkering. I say just bypass that shit altogether and just buy the CD. Supports the bands and stores. If you're buying used albums, it supports the brick and mortar music stores. Even if you're buying from them online, it can help them keep a good catalog stocked. Generally I hate shopping, but I'll spend hours in a music store just flipping through records and seeing what they have. You meet people who can show you more music based on what you're into. If you're buying brand new albums, that helps the bands. The best way you can support a band you like is to buy their merch, buy their music, and their concert tickets. After all, we'd be pretty miserable without them. The physical experience. Listening to a record requires your total attention. You have to dust the record, make sure the weight is right, put the needle on, and then change sides when the music is over. It can be a fun ritual. The album could sound different on vinyl than it does on CD. In some cases, the record may have some songs that the CD doesn't have. Vinyl may have its faults as a format, but some people do enjoy the surface noise and the overall experience. With tapes, you might think it's cool to fast forward or flip the tape over. It can even be cool to just carry it around in your pocket. And then when you get bored, you can just take a pencil and rewind the tape. With CDs, it's sometimes fun to just look for bonus tracks. Say if there's a pre-recording before the album starts, or if there's a million blank tracks and you have to skip through a bunch of them to get to the bonus track. There's more user involvement with physical media. Cool packaging. Tool held off putting their music on iTunes for the longest time because they wanted fans to have a special music buying experience. The packaging of their albums made it worth the effort. This one right here has a lenticular cover that moves. So cool to look at. Sometimes albums come with posters and stickers. The Misfits have a coffin-shaped box set that includes a pin. Then there's the Samhain box set, which has a comic and a whole booklet full of pictures. With streaming or downloads, you miss out on all of that. Sure, the box is bulky, but it looks awesome on your shelf. Then there are albums that have liner notes from the band themselves. They can tell stories about the recordings, and sometimes they can tell stories about the music scene at the time. Music listening has always been an evolving experience. In the 1950s, there were cars with turntables in them so you could play your records. The problem was, if the car hit a bump, the record would scratch. People wanted portable music, so the 8-track came along out of necessity. But 8-tracks were a bit of a pain in the ass, so the audio cassette came next. The CD came along to try to maximize the sound quality of a recording session. But CDs could get expensive, so digital downloads became a trend. With streaming, you don't have to worry about disk space. The point is, more options and conveniences become available over time, but there are some elements of the past that are worth holding on to. Grind on.